Hello, friends. It's Phil, and this is the day before Dad's funeral. Now, if some of you have been listening to the podcast over the last 30 days or so, you will have learned, or you will know, that my dad passed away. You'll also know that Mum passed away relatively recently as well. She actually passed away during the COVID-19, just at the back end of the first lockdown. So her funeral and wake were, let's say, a little bit weird and very limited. So the anticipation is that Dad's funeral is going to be kind of, I reckon, a bit of a double header. A Dad's and Mum's funeral. I think for a lot of their friends and a lot of family, I think there's definitely a sense, or I certainly sense a feeling, that this is the gathering, a huge, probably potentially a very large gathering of people, actually, I suspect in hundreds, possibly. I think there will be, to say goodbye to an era, really. So on the day, and I'll give you some of the context of the day, is that we have a church mass, because Mum and Dad, or Dad, they say, because it's his funeral, was a Catholic. So there's going to be that, but there's also probably going to be quite a well-attended church choir, because Dad was part of that for quite a few years. And equally so, there's going to be a male voice choir there as well, the Harrow Apollo male voice choir, because Dad was part of that. And I think there's going to be 40 of them. And then there's going to be other people that know Dad and Mum from the past history, whether it's Ruislip, Pinner, London, work, Catenians, rugby, wherever. Oh, and I suspect there will be a sporting contingent of some capacity. I don't know who, but we will see. We will see. Anyway, so there's Dad's funeral, and then there will be we will go to have the crematorium, to have the goodbye service, they say. And I've written the eulogy for the crematorium. My younger brother Chris has written the eulogy for the church service. Sorry, I was just pondering there. So there's lots and lots of many bits. Lots and lots, as you can imagine. 4 siblings, 8 grandchildren, and many friends. So I thought this might be a worthy environment, the podcast that is, on its many channels, to share the eulogy that I will be sharing with others. It's the last run, the last rewrite, the last edit before the big day. And I was just asked very recently, I've just been on an assessment, a lawn care assessment, someone locally. I was just asked, am I nervous? Well, I don't think I am nervous as such. I'm sure on the day I will be very nervous and emotional, but there's a story to be told. And if there's one thing inside of this podcast that I'm embracing, and every podcast I add to, and there is a future being told and a past being told in every podcast, is that when we build lives and we build businesses and we build experiences and we build families, when we build something, we tell a story sometimes. But look, the interesting thing about this daily-ish podcasts is that the many vignettes and the many stories and the many listeners from around the world that listen to it will ultimately hear different things. So, I think this one's an interesting one. This one is a pivotal point. This one is a story of the past and a story of the future. And, if anything, I think it makes the business I'm building and the person I am and the people involved in what I do, I think it makes it incredibly human, incredibly real. Let's just say sometimes when we build businesses, let's say we build them as transactional vehicles. We try and hide who we are. We try and minimize the humanity of our business to control it, to optimize it. But in the context of this, and this is only episode 214, is that today is the day where I'm preparing for tomorrow. And tomorrow is a day that I won't be doing the podcast. And I probably won't do it over the weekend because I don't do it over the weekends. And I think that's okay. But it's just, it's a layer, it's a piece, it's a story, it's a vignette, it's reality leaping into what makes us who we are. It allows us to do what we do. So, on that point, I have been working on lawns all week. And next week is booked. And there are assessments coming in and things are progressing gently, which is nice. But for now, this is the end of this is the end of the week, and tomorrow is Dad's funeral. So I thought I'd give you insight into the story, let's say. So it's going to start like this, and then I will just continue. Hello, friends. Hello, Dad. Let me speak for your wonderful children, Nick, Phil, Chris, Marianne, and your 8 grandchildren, Jessica, Billy, Maddie, Angus, Blake, Dexter, Ellie and Bodhi. Dad, you and Mum were married for over 50 years. You set the bar high with consistent commitment, connection, love, and unity. And above all, you relentlessly shared your life with your friends and family. Dad, you'd prefer singing than to be silent. You said it was easier to get enthusiastic about singing because you always feel like you could do your bit. Well, Dad, you've done your bit, so let me take over from here. In order to prepare this speech, I read a lot of notes from Dad and notes from his friends to get a general picture of how Dad was regarded. A great family man with tireless commitment, unwavering dedication, a larger-than-life character seemed to have been the words people most connected with him. A great leader also rang bells. He was so very committed and dedicated to his clubs and groups. On the other hand, as a family, we knew him as a fun and caring dad, an adventurer, a bit of a silly fool, if I'm honest, which I think he would have found a good summary of his best bits. You might have experienced him as the dancing horse for the Morris men, a rather strange commitment, but one he dedicated 100% of himself to. I think his dancing was more a gentle hop, his horse's head perhaps just a mask to give him the chance to live in a wondrous, imaginary world. Most of all, we seem to all think Dad, Dennis, Coco the Clown, and Den Den had an enormous capacity for giving and expecting nothing in return. I hope giving, joyful and larger than life is how you will all remember him. Not gone, silent, only to be found near, the church altar resting in a box. Pick your favourite moment of him and remember him that way. The most caring, giving, big-hearted, larger-than-life character and funny fool any of us would meet. As a family, we've pondered how we will remember him. Well, Dad had a passion for song and often said that he had an Irish leg and loved the Dubliners. So I'm going to hand it over to them for the last words. Feel free to join in. I've been a wild rover for many a year, and I've spent all my money on whiskey and beer. But now I'm returning with gold in great store, and I never will play the wild rover no more. And it's no, nay, never. No, nay, never, no more. Will I play the wild rover? No, never, no more. And that, my friends, is probably how the eulogy is going to go. And with my dyslexic brain, let's just say some of those words will probably change on the day. I may freestyle it from point to point, but we'll see. We'll see. Anyway, look, Dad's funeral is tomorrow. It's in Pinner at St. Luke's. And afterwards, we'll be going to a crematorium in Ruislip, the Breakspear crematorium. And then we will be having a celebration, as Dad would call it, at the rugby club, Harrow Rugby Club, where everyone's invited. Come along, tell a story of if you know Dad, if you knew Dad, then come along and tell a story. It'd be great to hear. And maybe some of those stories from tomorrow will feature in another podcast or two. Who knows? Anyway, look, thanks for listening. As always, dear friends, wish me luck. Tomorrow is a big day. Ta-da. Take care. See you.